Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and tonight is not the 8th night of Chanukah, and this is not the limited edition Chanukah Colorway, although I thought it was, and that was my plan. However, with a little overconfidence and a little too much dye, I went a little too far. Let's take a look at this Chanukah Oops and enjoy this not the limited edition Chanukah colorway. I am going to leave in a lot of my overconfidence so you can watch me discover things in this video. Today I am going to do something that is a big first for me. I am going to dye over a dozen skeins of yarn in one colorway at the same time. I suppose I've technically done this before with dip-dyed broken violet, but this is still a big first because this is all at once. I decided to pick a sock yarn base that is not one of my standard bases, but will behave similarly to one of the ones I use a lot. Today we are going to be dyeing Knit Picks Felicia yarn. Like Stroll, this is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It is a 4-ply yarn, but it has a bit of a higher twist than Stroll. It's done in a different mill, and the merino is a slightly higher quality as well. And so this is a lot of people's favorite sock yarn, and I thought it would be perfect for this bonus limited edition Chanukah colorway. Oh no! Felicia only comes with one tie. I'm going to go cut a bunch of pieces of acrylic yarn to add another tie to all of the skeins. In another video on this playlist, I will be showing some of my Chanukah decorations and talking about some of our traditions. And one of the things that I always love is the drip mat that has pieces of wax from all of the candles. And you see these in dots from when you're lighting the candles, in rivers and in flows. So I thought it would be perfect to speckle some yarn using the hand painting with dry powder technique, using some Dharma acid dye primary colors, Fire Engine Red, Peacock Blue, and Brilliant Yellow. I plan to call this colorway Melted Wax. You can find Chanukah candles in a variety of colors. This box comes with the primaries and also has some purple and green. I'm expecting to end up with some secondary colors from layering these primaries, but if I feel like the colorway needs it, I can always run up and grab another color. As you can see, these Dharma acid dyes are unopened, and I have never used them before. So I am going to start off by dyeing 3 skeins with this colorway, and then we can decide if we need to adjust things moving forward or if I should carry on and repeat that on a lot more yarn. Don't forget your personal safety equipment when you are using any dry dye powders. All of the pots, pans, utensils I will be using in today's project are dedicated dye equipment and are things that I do not use for cooking. Whoa! That's a lot of powder. I'm going to go ahead and add, that's a lot of powder. I don't think I need quite that much. Well, we'll see. I'm going to add some powder to these cups. That is a lot of dye. Each of these jars are 2 ounces. And for reference, the jacquard dyes that I started with back in the day are, oh goodness, the jacquard dyes are a 1/2 ounce. So, oh yeah, I probably took way too much. But that's okay. We are going to go big. And this is why some people will take the powder directly from the jars, which you absolutely can do. I was just concerned, and I think rightly so, that if I mix between colors, I would just get it all over my hands. So this is a fairly heavy application of the yellow. We're hoping for some speckles, some big splotches. The colors can spread a bit, but when I removed this yarn from the pre-soak, I did squeeze out some of the water, but they're not like nearly dry or anything like that. There is some dry powder around the counter, but don't you worry, I will take care of that. You know me, I don't like leaving any dye behind. I have a feeling I might be going a little heavy on here. It's possible that we will end up with a fair amount of rinsing after, but I'm sort of okay with that. Now, I probably could have spread these out a little bit more. I'm trying to pay a little special attention to the very end parts because I don't want to end up with like a ton of spot with no color. But you can see I just went for this and did the yellow all over, all over, all over. And now I'm going to go rinse off my hand, dry it with a paper towel, and then we'll go for the next color. Let's do blue before we go for the red. So right now, this is looking really dark, which means that because the yellow is so bright, I went heavier with it, and I'm going a lot lighter with the blue right now. I have never seen it before. Please tell me that you're going to look more blue and less navy. This is supposed to be peacock blue. We'll see as it gets a little wet. I'm like sitting here waiting like, okay, I'll just go ahead and like, as I said, if this color isn't right, then like we'll go and we'll go for something else, but it'll probably take a little time for the dye to like sort of sink in. But this color is definitely feeling darker than what I was hoping for, but I was going off of the shade. Okay, I see it starting to sink in. It looks like a very, very nice blue. I forget if this is like, maybe there was a color on back order, but I think that this is the one that I picked to be like my primary blue. But it's definitely feeling very navy right now. That's why, well, if you can call 3 skeins small scale. This is why we're starting on a smaller scale and we will go up. I have a feeling some of this yellow might end up reading. Okay, as the yellow is going in, I do see brighter yellow flecks. And okay, I think that this will be a bright blue. Just gotta take some time. Gotta let the dye sink in. I'm gonna give some like heavier patches of the blue. All right, and now once again, I'm gonna go rinse my hands and dry them off. I'm definitely starting to see some blue hints, but it's taking some time to sort of soak in. Okay, let's go for our red. Because like on one hand, you would expect your powders to look a bit darker than the final colors that they'll end up being, but this isn't entirely what I had expected. But I have to remember, I hope that I add the colors heavy enough in some places. I mean, I went heavy with that yellow. So I hope that, I have no idea what our color penetration is going to be like. I could have spread this yarn out more on the counter, but I wanted to keep it a little pushed together because when I'm doing 10 at once after this, I won't be able to spread them out a ton. So some special attention to that end cap. And conceivably, I'll end up wanting to move this more than once. I mean, I feel like that this is really pretty. It's feeling way more fall than what I was going for. I'm gonna need more red. Definitely need more red put down there. I mean, I think that this is, I should wash the hands first though. I think that this is gorgeous. This is stunning. It just feels much more like gold, maroon, and navy versus red, blue, and yellow. I thought that I was going to be dealing a little more with 3 primary colors. And I have a feeling that the blue is going to look green because I went so heavy on that yellow. Let's add some more red, which is clumped in some areas. All right. Make sure we have some in these more intermediate zones. I mean, I see the yellow spreading in, and I think that that looks really, really cool. It's the blue I am a little unsure and nervous about. Oh, you guys, instead of washing the dye off my hands in between as I'm switching colors, you know what I should have done? I should have had some yarn to wipe my hands off. Maybe I'll do that when I go for all 10. Oh shoot, I just went back into the red and that's not the color I wanted to do. I had someone ask me recently why, someone say, I thought you were an expert. Why are you doing, you know, X, Y, or Z? And I'm not an expert. I am an adventurous sort of beginner. And when I try something out for the first time, I'm willing to do that on camera. So then you can decide if that might be something that you want to try yourself, or if maybe it's not your cup of tea and you would like to do something different when it comes to your own yarn. So that is the approach. Wow, I think this is gorgeous. Again, not what I set out to do, but it is really, really pretty. I think that I'm going to need to reserve some judgment for when, I think I'm going to need to reserve some judgment for like once this is set and we rinse it and see like, oh, if the colors feel brighter. Just like when we're doing stuff with tie-dye, the colors tend to look different when you add it to the yarn versus when you rinse it. So things might still be rather dry. But I'm now gonna let this go for, I'm gonna let this sit, I think, for 10 minutes. And then we'll come back and see what our colors are doing. The yellow, as it is dissolving, is looking less orange. And I am starting to see some parts that look like the primary blue, and the same with the red. So I have hope. I think what we've got here is still going to be really, really beautiful. I just clearly need to practice more with some of these colors to get a sense of how they feel when we dye yarn with them. Okay, after 10 minutes, There's definitely still some dye that is dry on the surface. We are gonna go for this. Well, I mean, with these ones we don't really have a choice, but I'm curious. Yeah, this might not go through too many layers, so we shall see. But now we are going to flip these over, and I'm gonna try to spread this out. We might need to do a third flip. You can see that in the flip process, we are spreading out some of our colors. I actually see a pretty nice green show up there. But part of the reason we're seeing some colors sort of like spread out and go through a bit is that, ooh, I see some, look at my hands. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh, that is like really pretty. I'm pre-soaking some yarn to like help clean up after, but ooh, that is really pretty. All right, let's go for this, and hopefully that helped spread some colors throughout and gave us some nice like rainbow action going on. Okay, I think that this is pretty good. I do have some concerns about the edges, but I also want to let this sink in a bit for, let's give it 10 minutes again, and then we'll come back. Okay, it is a little bit moment of truth time. If I move this, we've got some wider areas, but some cool, let's flip it and see. Ooh, that looks so cool. Eek, look at my counter. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. With some of these areas where it seems like maybe there's not enough color, I'm just sort of patting it down on the counter and on itself. The areas that I particularly want to keep an eye out for are these edges. You don't want things to blend too much because it could start to go a little brown. And I mean, brown is awesome because that's my name, but all right. Let's sort of dab this on itself. I'm starting to look a little muddy. Hopefully the yarn won't look too muddy. Okay, I'm gonna take off one glove so that way I can bring over my steam pot, and then I am going to plop in 1, 2, oh, you can't see. Trying to stay on the clean counter. 3, they're all in here, and I'm going to go start steaming this for I'm going to steam for 30 minutes. Okay, so that was just the pasta insert in my dedicated steam pot, and I've got the yarn in there, and we're going to let this go for 30 minutes. All right, turn off the stove, and here is our pretty yarn. Pull it out and whoa, whoa. Okay, the bottom got a bit wet. That is some deep color right there. I may have overdone it a bit with the dye. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, and there's definitely some dye behind in there. You can see that it is leaking some yellow. So, I might need to reevaluate this a little bit. We'll see how balanced this is. But let's take a peek. Yeah, we've got a nice, oh, I don't think you can see, brown liquid down below. So, I mean, this definitely did not happen last time. Maybe I had too much water in the yarn for it to like all sort of like pool down at the bottom. But we've got some really cool layered action over there. So I'm gonna let the yarn cool and then we will go and rinse it and then figure out how we're gonna proceed. Okay, I am going to take one of the three, just sort of plop her in. Yes, I decided that this yarn is a girl. And there we go. I'm surprised I didn't see the bleeding like immediately. I mean, I do really genuinely like this. It's just not what I was going for. So this actually might be more balanced than I thought. It looked like the really dark section was just around one area, but no, it didn't end. Whoa, look at the color change of the rinse water. At first it was yellow, now we've got orange. Next are we gonna see green? I think I used way too much dye. I went like big, like maybe I was doing tie-dye. I did not measure out any of the dye. When I did this in, I think it was Dyepot Weekly 70 something. I think it was Dyepot Weekly 77. I used a lot less color. And I sort of wanted the colors to spread out a little bit more and get a little more coverage, so I went heavier. The thing with going heavier is that, I mean, we've got something really dark, and I was hoping for something that was bright versus dark, if that makes sense. Now, there's still some really beautiful speckling in here, and I think that this is lovely, but I think that I might be going with Plan B for the limited edition Chanukah Colorway. I know that many of you, and I mean, I really like this. I do. It's just not quite, I think that, you know, that condensation from the steam dripping down, I mean, this is beautiful, dark, moody, and surprisingly, with all these colors mixing together, it isn't really brown. I don't see a lot of purple. It's got sort of like a greenish hue to it. But also, as you can see, it's going to require a fair amount of rinsing. Alright, some updates. Even with dish soap, I'm still seeing a little bit of bleeding. Got a tiny bit of water, yeah. There's still a little bit of bleeding. It's getting better, but I'm going to add a little bit of the pre-soak water. This is acidic water, water with some vinegar, and just sort of give it a, I mean, I guess this is a little less concentrated because there's some water in there, but I'm just going to give it a little bit of acid. Actually, that's not bad. So after multiple rinses, the amount of bleeding is so much less compared to the color that's left. So now that I've rinsed out most of that rinse, I'm gonna let it soak in here for just a minute or two, and then go back to some rinsing. But it's funny, so we've got definitely like an oops type colorway here, but I'm digging it. I'm sort of thinking of calling it like Evil Faerie or something like that. But it is not my Chanukah colorway. Okay, maybe that vinegar pre-soak helped. Vinegar soak helped with the yellow a bit, because I added a little warm water and some soap, and bam, pink. Which actually got a little more dilute as I added more water, so maybe it's not as bad as I thought. But I'm just gonna go for rinsing it until the water clears. I know that this bleeding is happening because there was a ton of dye. You can tell there's a ton of dye because there is a ton of color in this yarn. So I can't wait to see what this looks like dry. My yarn is now drying. I may have added a healthy splash of vinegar in, and that really did help stop the bleeding. But I think one thing that I learned today is that overconfidence is something that every dyer needs to worry about. I've played around with acid dyes. I've started playing with acid dye powder, but I had not used these dyes, so I was neither familiar with their hue nor their potency. And we ended up with way too much dye on our yarn. I could, and I will, I think at some point, try to recreate this type of yarn with these colors in the way that I was going for. But for now, and I pause because I'm considering giving this another shot right now. But I think that for now that I'm going to go to plan B for that Chanukah yarn. And for the plan B, since I have limited space in my pot to dye over a dozen skeins at one time, I will mix some stock solutions with these three colors, so that way I can go for the look that I want. The yarn is still really dark and moody when it is dry. Most of the time I dye one-of-a-kind colorways mostly. Mainly because I'm filming these videos, I'll dye a single skein, or I'll do multiple skeins of different yarn bases. So it might be one colorway, but they each will look different across a different base. But it is really fun to do something on 3 skeins of the same yarn base to see just how different they can be. Like right now, the way they're laid out, this one has a lot more green in it. And yeah, I think that the first one is a lot more green heavy. And oh yeah, even on this side. And maybe like the medium one is a little more speckled, and this one has like a lot more moody splotches. These all go together very, very beautifully. And if worked together, you could get sort of a subtle kind of fade almost, because while they were dyed side by side, they are not the same dye lot. They will look a little different knit up. So if you were going to use all 3 of these in a project and you did not want it to sort of fade or transition, I would alternate skeins every couple rows to sort of mix up the colors a bit more. But the speckles here are, oh, so good. I know that I used way too much dye, but all things considered, for mixing so much of these 3 primary colors together, to get something that is so not brown is wonderful. Don't worry, I have not given up on this technique. I plan to give this a go again sometime. I will be trying this again. I'm just gonna hold back a little bit on the amount of powder. I am wondering right now how many indie dyers out there were watching me add the dye and just gasping at the massive quantities that I was adding to the yarn. I'm sure when I'm editing this that that's what's going to be going through my head too. I will be cringing. But it's worth it. It is worth it to even be a little overconfident and go for something and realize that you need to pull yourself back, because this colorway is a bit of an accident, but I think it's a really happy accident. I don't know if I'm going to go for adding this much color dry in the future. Maybe if I wanted to get something this dark, I would do some layers of colors and first do some low immersion and then add speckles on top of it. But either way, I think that this dark evil fairy is really fun. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and thank you so much for joining me as I did not dye our Chanukah limited edition colorway. I think that this evil fairy dark moody rainbow speckled yarn is stunning. It's just not quite what I was going for. And this is a reason why, if you want to do a big batch of a colorway, which is honestly not something I've really done a lot of, you want to start with a smaller batch. Don't go for doing 15 all at once when, you know, maybe start with 1, 2, or 3 to get a sense of the colorway, and then expand to create what you are looking for. On the 8th night of Chanukah, you will be able to watch me dye what will actually be the 2018 ChemKnits Chanukah colorway. And you'll see a video where I will do Plan B and Plan C. So make sure you stay tuned after the 8th night of Chanukah video for, I guess, a couple more bonus videos. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't checked out the ChemKnits Chanukah special, the playlist will be in the video description and the iCard.